Let's talk about the best ways to remove thatch from a lawn. What you see here is my lawn. My lawn has thatch in it. It doesn't look like it from far away, but it does. I've experimented with all of the ways to get rid of thatch, and I've got a lot to say about this topic, but I want to keep this brief. So let's jump in and we'll do it quick. There's basically 5 ways to get rid of thatch in the lawn, 5 general ways, which in a couple of these 5 ways, there's a couple different iterations of how to go about it. The very first one is a thatch rake. It's about the cheapest thing that you can do. I have a thatch rake. I've used it on my entire lawn. It's an enormous chore. It takes a ton of work and it only removes surface debris. Surface debris is what I call grass clippings, stuff that falls from the trees. All of the little bits of stuff that sit on top of the soil, basically the uppermost layer of stuff. It's not soil and it's not thatch. I have videos about this. Link below, you'll find the entire playlist about thatch Q&A. If you use a thatch rake, you're going to be lifting up a lot of the surface debris that's sitting on top of your thatch layer. If you have a thick thatch layer, it can be beneficial to get rid of that surface debris because the surface debris does break down faster if it's sitting on the soil. If it's sitting on top of the thatch, it's going to accumulate and break down much slower. Using a thatch rake is not going to prevent your thatch problem, but it is going to make it a little bit easier to deal with a thatch problem down the road. So it's a reasonable idea. It's a ton of work though, especially as your lawn gets bigger, and that's why they make power rakes or electric dethatchers. Some people call them scarifiers. Now I have a lawn dethatcher, an electric version. I use the Greenworks and I am collecting a handful of the other alternatives on the market right now. Down below in the description, I have an entire link over to my website where I'm comparing the most common and the most popular and the best electric dethatchers on the market. Many of these things fall into that $100 to $250 price range, and each one is going to be better for a different person. Make sure to take a look at that link below if you want to find out the differences. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to say an electric dethatcher is basically an electric version of a manual thatch rake. I don't care if you're putting on the dethatching prongs or if you're putting on the scarifier blades on whatever model that you have. Neither one of the scarifier or lawn dethatcher attachments to these machines actually remove the thatch, but they do aerate a little bit the thatch layer. The electric dethatcher attachment is going to dig into the ground and score and drag and scrape the thatch layer. It's not going to cut all the way through it. Remember, a healthy thatch layer is anything up to about ½ inches of thatch. The vast majority of electric dethatchers only go about 1/8 of an inch below grade. Some of them go down to 1/4. If you've got ½ an inch of thatch, it's not even going to come close to going all the way through it. Now again, an electric dethatcher with the prongs is going to drag and scrape and remove surface debris. If you take those prongs off and you put the scarifier attachment on, those are going to be more hard blades, kind of like an actual thatch rake. They're going to dig into the ground and cut. They're not going to rip material out of the ground quite the same way. It's basically going to be making cuts into the ground, kind of like a gas-powered verticutter or a gas-powered scarifier. These things are going to cause deep scores into the thatch layer, but it's not going to pull up as much surface debris because it's not dragging, it's cutting. These things can work to alleviate a thatch problem simply because they're cutting into the thatch and allowing oxygen to get down in there. When you water your lawn or you get small amounts of rain, it's going to penetrate deeper into the thatch layer, so you're going to end up getting a more aerobic environment. Composting way of thinking about it is you're getting oxygen and airflow into an environment that you want to decompose. It's going to happen faster, but it doesn't actually pull the thatch out of the ground. If you pull the thatch out of the ground, you're going to be pulling the grass and the root system along with it. And if you've got a particularly thick layer of thatch, then these electric versions are just not powerful enough. And if you've got a gigantic yard, you can't run an extension cord all the way out into the deepest reaches of your yard. And that's where gas-powered electric dethatchers and gas-powered scarifiers come into play. These machines are stronger and they can go farther and they can dig deeper into the ground. They're going to do the exact same thing as the electric versions, just a little bit better, deeper, and stronger. The scarifiers are going to dig deeper into the ground, maybe 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 of an inch. The biggest one that I know of is one of the entry-level Billy Goat models, which is like a $1,500 machine. That is going to score into the ground 3/4 of an inch. If you've got a really thick layer of thatch, let's call it a 1-inch layer of thatch, it's still not going to get all the way to the bottom, but at least you're going to be aerating a good amount of it. The gas-powered machines are incredibly expensive. Some of the cheapest ones are still in that $1,500 to $2,000 range. Most people hire this job out to landscaping, like local landscaping and lawn care companies. You can also go out to local tool rental places and rent them and use them yourself. A little bit hard, and it's not a job that I have done myself. This is the kind of a job that even as a lawn care guy, I hire out to a local company to do it for me. I just don't want to deal with it. No matter if you're using an electric or a gas-powered dethatcher or scarifier, the point here is that we're creating an environment that allows for a better decomposition of our thatch layer. And to take another step in the direction of the best way to do that is we apply thatch digesting products on the lawn. These are usually liquids that we spray onto the lawn. Now, there are two general categories of these things. There are biological products that we put on the lawn, and then there are products that we put on the lawn that support the biological activity that's already existing in our soil. Of those two, I prefer the second one. The very first one, when we're applying microbes and enzymes and lawn bugs onto our lawn, when we're applying microbes to the lawn for the purpose of digesting the thatch that's there, we don't know what we're getting in the bottle. Imagine going off to the store and buying a jug of worms for whatever purpose. Maybe you're making a worm bin, maybe you're going fishing. Those worms could be alive and they could be dead. It completely depends on the transit and the packaging and the state of the bucket that you got it in. It's the same thing for the microbes in these bottles. So if you get a biological dethatcher where you're putting down stuff on the lawn, you're putting down the microbes on the lawn to dethatch, you don't know how active that product is. It's a volatile product, and you could be putting stuff down on the lawn that's going to do nothing at all. Most lawn situations, like the vast majority of them, your lawn already has a lot of microbial life in it. Some of that life could be a little bit sluggish, and that's what the second category of liquid lawn dethatching products do. They feed the microbes that are already in the soil, all of the little microscopic things that are going on in your soil that digest and eat away at the thatch layer. We're going to feed them, and we're going to support the soil ecosystem so that those things can do better and eat away at our thatch layer faster. That's the kind of product that I prefer. I've used both. I have both in my garage. The second one is my preference. Most of these products contain a mixture of humic acid and molasses and a handful of other things. They're all a little bit different, but they're basically the same in the fact that they support the microbial and the soil life and the biological life of our soil. They provide carbohydrates and energy to everything that we want living in the soil so that it can be as strong and vigorous as possible. When that life is vigorous, it is going to decompose everything that we don't want in the soil faster. Now, there's a variety of these products. I'm not going to go into any of them right now. Down in the description below, I have a link over to my website where I do compare some of those products, but that's not the purpose of this video. Really, if you buy any of them, you're going to be better off than buying none of them. Now, as we talk about scarifying and ripping into our thatch layer, removing surface debris, and supporting the biological life of our soil, we can't overlook the concept of aeration. Aeration of a lawn is not what most people think of when you think of dethatching a lawn. When you think of dethatching your lawn, you think of like, let's get rid of all this gunk. An aeration process is like pulling cores out of the lawn to aerate the soil itself. Well, as we aerate the soil, we're also puncturing holes into the thatch layer. We are removing thatch along with the soil. If you use a manual core aerator, you're usually puncturing about 1/2 inch diameter holes. If you use a mechanical core aerator, you're puncturing 3/4 inch holes into the lawn. And if you do 24 of them per square foot, which is the optimal amount for a 3/4 inch hole, you're removing approximately 7.5% of the surface area of your lawn without disturbing the actual grasses there. If you're disturbing the grasses there, if you're ripping it out, you're damaging root systems and pulling, like literally removing grass from the lawn. A core aerator, however, only pulls out a tiny, localized, very specific core. Once you rake all those cores off the lawn, the lawn doesn't look any different at all. It doesn't look disturbed at all. However, the root systems for your plants now have channels and areas to go. If we top dress those areas with healthy products, roots are going to grow deep into those core areas, the places that have softened up, and we have physically removed some of the thatch from the surface. So now imagine this, with an electric dethatcher, if we can remove surface debris and then we can core aerate to pull cores out of the lawn, give our root systems places to grow, soften the soil up, and actually physically remove 7.5% of our thatch layer in one go. Then we start putting liquid dethatching products on top of it on a regular basis every 3 to 4 weeks to slowly decompose all of the rest of the thatch layer that's there over time. And it doesn't take that long, maybe a season or two. You can really take a bad thatch problem and bring it back into a normal range. That's what we want. Remember, the vast majority of lawns have thatch and it's healthy. It's a good thing. It insulates the soil from the heat of the summer days and the cool of the night. We want thatch, but we just don't want too much of it. Again, down in the description below, I have a full article that goes into more depth on this exact topic. I also explain the differences between the electric dethatchers on the market, the things that people, regular homeowners, tend to buy, so you can figure out which one is going to be best for your particular situation. And for the liquid dethatching products, I do the same thing. Go down in the description below, click on a couple of those links, but that's pretty much all you need to know. If you want to get rid of thatch in your lawn, pull off excess surface debris, score the lawn with electric dethatcher, core aerate the lawn to remove chunks of thatch and create an aerobic environment for actual decomposition of your thatch layer, and then start a regimented, purposeful application of liquid dethatching products to feed the soil microbes in your lawn to fully decompose the excess thatch in your lawn. Not everything, just the part that you don't want. I hope that was helpful. Please leave some comments down below if you have any questions.